Welcome back to Horns High Studios for another episode of 666 Seconds of Murder. That means each one of these videos is less than 666 seconds or 11 minutes and 6 seconds. So no time to waste. Let's get right into it. But first, please don't forget to hit that like button down below. Drop a comment, even if it's just some horns or whatever. It helps the video get out there to more people. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider doing that before you leave today. I would appreciate it. It helps the channel grow, and we're getting close to 10,000 subscribers. So love to see some more and get us to that next milestone. It's important to remember that this video is for entertainment purposes only. These are just my opinions and speculation. I'm not an expert, but I'm using some good common sense to analyze this case that we're all very interested in. I'm not saying anyone is guilty of anything, and all of what I say is alleged. Now, for this episode, I'd like to discuss the Idaho 4 case and that hearing yesterday, May 23rd, which looked more like a kid in school being reprimanded for not doing his homework by a no-nonsense school teacher. I mean, if Detective Lawrence Maury is the best they've got, you know that Cy Ray will be legitimately saying, "Hold my beer, Larry." Now, it was strange that Detective Maury was called to the stand in this hearing by the defense. Most of us assumed it was going to be Cy Ray, but Ann Taylor called Maury for a good reason. She knew he was going to look like a complete idiot on the stand. Even Judge had some strange looks at certain parts of Maury's responses to Ann Taylor's questions. Now, first of all, Maury did not want to be there. Again, the defense called him up there. I can understand why he didn't want to be there, but after 18 months from these crimes happening, this guy acted like these questions were just a bother to him, you know? There were a number of bonehead moves with Detective Maury, whose official title at the Moscow PD is a forensic detective. Now, I don't know what sort of schooling he's had, college and any of that. Most police officers major in criminal justice, but of course not all of them. But when Ann Taylor asked Maury about the training he's had in the CAST system. In case you wondered, I had to look it up. CAST stands for Cellular Analysis Survey Team, which is part of the FBI. So that's who runs the CAST program here. They've got the team of people. Now, Maury's response to the amount of training he had was like a joke, to be honest with you. All total, it was like 4 or 5 days of training, and that over the span of time were included refreshers, I believe. So that's not a lot of time to learn a system that I would assume is pretty complicated to interpret and that sort of thing. Now, my former life, I guess I did 5-day classes, and it involved complicated government regulations. Now, while my students were competent with the info and knew, when they needed to call someone for help, they were far from experts in that field. So, I mean, Detective Maury, with a few days of training, is the point man at Moscow PD when it comes to this kind of stuff, at least for this case. I don't know if there's other detectives that do that or not. Now, Maury was just flat out embarrassing, and then divulged that he lost some information from AT&T regarding Brian Kohberger's cell phone. Lost it. Then he miraculously found it the day before the hearing. Isn't that amazing? I mean, are you kidding me with this guy? If you took 18 months to realize you lost something so important that was your job, to find out where he was at, this time and that time, that's just unacceptable. It really is. And we've got a suspect in jail at this time, and this clown can't keep track of very important things. I mean, seriously, it was terrible. Then it doesn't stop. when he ran the CastViz software, that's the software they use to analyze the cast data, and he plugged in the data that he was, found, that's when he came up with the path that law enforcement was saying Bryan Kohberger took during those early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. So this was evidence that became part of the PCA. Well, the problem with what Mowery did was when he ran that CastViz software, he took some screenshots of it and didn't save the file. Didn't save it, didn't think he needed to. So there's no way to recreate what he did. The reason you can't recreate it is that there's settings and parameters in the software that you can tweak. So you'd want to be able to see, did he do anything that maybe he shouldn't have? And that's how he came up with those results. I mean, I would believe that that's probably the case, and that's why she's asking for it. Now, when he was asked about it, he did not have a legitimate answer of why he didn't save it. And Ann Taylor pointed out that even with the missing AT&T information, she is unable to duplicate the work. He didn't want to answer that question for sure, but finally responded kind of sheepishly, probably not, or something to that effect. I mean, this guy's ridiculous. The other subject that really made Mowery look like an idiot was regarding the video footage that the PD was gathering from residential and commercial businesses, as well as the Idaho Department of Transportation. Apparently, there is a system in place that they use to save footage from a particular date by notifying the people to save it, don't erase it. That happens typically within a month or less. Some are, 24 hours. It really depends. But Mowery didn't send any of the letters for any of these people to save their stuff, from IDOT at least. In addition, Red Shop Coffee Company, which is located in Moscow on the north side of Pullman Road, that's the road that connects Moscow and Pullman. And this would have been the most likely route, obviously, from somebody coming from Pullman. So it would have got him on video, and you could do the timestamps and all that stuff. But the video was submitted to Detective Mowery, but he is not able to locate it. So what do you think? Maybe he did look at it and his car's not on there, and that's why he conveniently lost it. I mean, is this like the dog ate his homework kind of thing? This guy's ridiculous. And it would have been a great video to show if he really did drive through there, if they could get him on a good, clear video. But this place is right on that road. So it should have had a good shot of that. But this guy's just a disgrace to me. Now, in my opinion, that blows up the prosecution's so-called evidence about the white Elantra. I mean, I don't know what they have, but I've suspected that what they have was not the same car. There were many of them in the area, many of them. If Detective Mowery was put in charge of that analysis, I'm not putting a whole lot of faith in him that it was done by the book correctly and that it can be recreated by another analyst. So how does Bill Thompson plan on using that at the trial? Because Mowery is going to be a train wreck in the actual trial. And I'm sure he will testify. He really has to, but if Bill doesn't call him, damn well Ann will, because she just shredded him in this hearing. Just to illustrate what an absolute mess this digital investigation really is. Now, my wife correctly pointed out when we watched the hearing that Ann called Mowery as her witness for, despite, the fact that he typically works for the prosecution. But she did it to point out all these mistakes and probably had Ray go over everything and could show her the areas of weakness with what he did. That's my guess. But hammering Mowery, this brutal during the trial, and I'm confident the jury is not going to put a whole lot of stock in what he comes up with. I just don't. He even seemed like he had an attitude. Terrible. He even said that the cast report comes from the FBI, which I mentioned. So aside from putting the data in a CastViz program, with some simple drag and drop stuff, he doesn't seem to be doing much at all. That being said, he's still losing information and acting shady by not saving his work. What changes did he make to that program to give them the results they wanted? I mean, that was, according to them, the path that Bryan Kohberger took after he committed the crimes. I don't know. I have some serious doubts, and it seems awfully shady to me. Now, I assume Cy Ray has a totally different bit of information. We know that he says Bryan wasn't even in Idaho and probably knows a lot about cast reports and showed her where they messed up. And that's kind of makes sense. But he's going to be using cell phone satellite information, which is more precise, more reliable, and doesn't matter whether you're on a tower or not. But comment below with your thoughts. I always appreciate to hear from you guys. I will not be doing a live tomorrow. That's Sunday. It's Memorial Day weekend. I got some family plans, but Sunday, June 2nd, me and my buddy A.R. Hayes will be doing a live together. Sunday, June 2nd, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Central. So you don't want to miss that. We'll be doing some Idaho 4 with you guys. Comment below. And thanks to all my friends at the Horns High Club. You guys are awesome. I hope you guys enjoy getting the videos as soon as I upload them instead of having to wait. And I do appreciate your support. I appreciate all of you guys that watch these videos. And we'll see you next time for another episode of 666 Seconds of Murder.